this video, I'm sharing 26 of my favorite and most deer resistant plants. These plants are so deer resistant, you could even call them deer repellent. The deer don't take a bite out of these. I came up with this list because I wish I had it when I was starting my garden. We live in a high deer pressure area. The deer, they have babies right behind my house in the woods. They roam the streets looking for whatever they can. So it would be frustrating when I would get a plant, it says it's deer resistant, I bring it home, plant it, leave the house for sometimes only an hour or two and find the plant has been eaten down to a nub. These plants I have tested. I have grown them in my garden for years. These you can put in and not worry about it. The deer hate them so much that sometimes you could sneak other things in that the deer would eat had they not had these plants planted around them. And don't worry about taking notes for this video. You can download the free guide in the description. It has all the plant names, light requirements, hardiness zones, so you'll be good to go. If you're new here, welcome to Garden Unwind. My name is Cindy, and this channel is all about helping you grow a garden you love. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video. So let's start with flowering plants. The first one is daffodils. You can grow daffodils in full sun or partial shade. They're easy to divide. They spread on their own if you let their flowers go to seed, and you can get them in different colors. If you're not a fan of yellow, you can order white ones, apricot ones, orange ones. You can even get the little miniature varieties, which I love, and they smell great. I love picking bouquets of daffodils and bringing them in the spring. Alliums. Alliums are in the onion family, so deer really don't like these. They can grow in full sun or partial shade. They're hardy down to zone 3. They're tricky to grow in warmer areas because they need to go through a cold period, as do the daffodils, but here in zone 7 they do great. Alliums come in all different shapes and sizes. You can get the small drumstick head ones. They grow about 36 inches tall. I always find insects covered on these. They love them. You can also get the ones with big balls. They can be anywhere from 36 inches high. I actually found one that's only about 24 inches high, Purple Rain. I'm loving this one because it does have a nice big head and a really pretty dark purple, but it's stocky, so it's really strong, so it doesn't get knocked over in the wind. I scattered these throughout the cottage garden and I love it. I would get more of these. The best time to get these is in the fall at Costco. Costco always has a great deal on spring bulbs, or in November you can find them on sale. I like to go to Home Depot when they're half off and I get whatever alliums they have because I love alliums. You can also get a summer blooming allium that's more of a perennial than a spring bulb. This one's called Millennium. This one's great too. Hellebores. Hellebores like partial shade or full shade. These are great because they bloom when not many other things are blooming, and their blooms last into the early summer. And then when they do lose their blooms, the foliage is beautiful all through the rest of the summer to the fall. I love hellebores. The deer don't touch them. There's all different kinds you can get. Many of them, the original ones, the heads are nodding, but now they're breeding some that the heads are upright. And most of them are hardy down to a zone 4. Lavender is great. You can get lavender hardy down to a zone 5. Lavender is a great one. It has a strong smell. The deer don't like it. You can use it for so many things. You can make soap. You can make your own moth repellent. You can make baked goods. You can just hang a bouquet of it on the wall. It looks beautiful. It smells beautiful. And lavender is so easy to take care of. I just cut it back in the spring, let it give a flush of blooms, harvest those blooms, and then I get a second set of blooms. Lavender likes to grow in full sun. The more sun you give it, the better. Russian sage. Russian sage, again, loves full sun. It'll perform the best for you the more sun you give it. This is a great one. It has a strong smell. The deer stay away from it. It's easy to maintain. I cut mine hard back in early spring, and then in late spring I give it one more cut so that it really bushes out, and then I let it go through the winter because it gives you beautiful winter interest. You don't even have to do that second cut back if you get one of the newer Russian sages that just has that bushy habit, then you're good to go. Butterfly bush. Butterfly bush really lives up to its name. I always see my butterfly bushes covered in butterflies. It likes to grow in full sun. It can handle partial shade. You can get it in so many different sizes, from dwarfs way up to 10 feet tall. The hummingbirds also really love butterfly bush. Hardy salvia. All salvias like to grow in full sun the best. The deer don't like it because it has that strong smell. You can cut back the first set of blooms and get a second set of blooms. Unfortunately, the salvias that aren't as hardy, they tend to not have that strong smell. They also tend to have a smoother leaf, and this might be why the deer end up eating mine. So the hardy ones are good to go. If you get the tender ones, you got to put them in a protected area. Unfortunately, I do like the tender ones. They tend to have more of a big, showy habit, but the deer like them. Even though garden centers will tell you they don't, they will eat them. Foxglove. Deer won't eat foxglove because they're poisonous, and they're great. They give you that great height in the garden. The bees love them. They're easy to grow from seed. You can start them in the summer, plant the seedlings in the fall, and you have beautiful foxgloves in the spring. You want to plant them the year before because most foxgloves are a biennial, which means you plant them and then get blooms the next year. You can find some, if you look, you can get seeds for some that will bloom the first year if you don't want to wait. I recommend planting both. And once you do this, you don't have to plant them again because they self-sow really easily. Just make sure to leave the spent blooms on the stalk for at least some of them. Foxglove will grow in partial shade or full sun. The next two are in the Agastache family, or you could say Agastache. The first one is hummingbird mint. I love to grow hummingbird mint along the edge of my sidewalk or the driveway. It drapes over just a little bit. It's such a cute little shrub, and it's got those tubular flowers that the hummingbirds love. That's why they call it hummingbird mint. Hummingbird mints will tell you many times they're hardy down to zone 5, but I don't find that to be true most of the time. They don't like to come back for me, but they're easy to grow as an annual. You grow them from seed, start inside in the spring, bring the seedlings out, and you get a mature plant pretty quick. Anise hyssop, on the other hand, it also loves full sun. It is quite a perennial. You plant it once, you'll never have to plant it again. It grows plenty of seed that will drop themselves. You can have plenty more anise hyssop. The only thing with anise hyssop, don't do what I did and take the spent blooms and throw them on your compost pile because it's thousands and thousands of seeds, and then spread that compost all over your garden. You'll have anise hyssop everywhere. You'll only make that mistake once. It's great. It smells like licorice. That's why the deer don't like it, but it makes a great tea. You can use it for medicinal purposes as well, and it's a great pollinator plant. Bee balm is another one I have never seen the deer take a bite out of. The bees love it. It comes in all different sorts of shapes and sizes. I tend to go for the shorter ones. I used to grow the taller bee balm that is the native varieties, but the problem with that is it does get powdery mildew, and that is not a welcome sight in my garden. So I stick to the shorter ones, so when you find it at a garden center, they're bred to be powdery mildew resistant, but the older varieties do give you more blooms. Bee balm will grow in full sun or partial shade. Catmint. Catmint will grow in full sun or partial shade. The deer don't touch catmint. There are many different varieties of it. You can get the shorter growing, more of a ground cover style. You can get the very tall, upright ones, and any of it, the deer won't eat. I even have one variety that has chartreuse leaves. They don't touch that one either. And the hummingbirds like catmint because it has those tubular flowers again. They like to stick their little beaks right in there and get out the nectar. Cleome. Cleome likes full sun. You can plant it easily from seed. It's a spiky flower, so the deer don't touch it. It gives you a really interesting architectural element. It's another one, if you cut back that first set of blooms, you'll get a new flush. And if you do leave some of those spent blooms on, you'll get plenty of seeds, so you'll never have to plant Cleome again. The next four are ground covers. Ajuga. Ajuga will grow in full sun or partial shade. It gets these nice delicate purple flowers in spring, and it spreads pretty easily. So it's great for shady areas. Creeping phlox. It's nice to have creeping phlox because it's another spring bloomer when not many other things are blooming. Deer don't like it because it has needle-like leaves. You can grow it in full sun or partial shade, and it comes in different colors: whites, purples, pinks, and it spreads pretty easily. Lamb's ear. Lamb's ear you can grow in full sun or partial shade. It has fuzzy leaves. It's a nice understory plant. It covers the ground well, so you don't have to use as much mulch. If you do let it flower and go to seed, you won't have to worry about running out of lamb's ear because it self-sows pretty easily. It's fun to find little lamb's ear plants around the garden, and then you can move them where you want to. People love to touch lamb's ear, especially kids. It's just fun. It's a nice fuzzy leaf, and that's why the deer hate it. Creeping jenny. It'll grow in full sun or partial shade. The deer don't touch this one. It gives you a nice pop of chartreuse. It can really brighten up the garden, and it's another one that's easy to propagate because it'll just root along as it grows. You can even take some of it and stick it in containers because it makes a really nice trailing plant. The next four are great for foliage. Fern. Fern like either shade or partial shade. There are so many different varieties of fern. It's really fun to collect them. You can get ostrich fern, Japanese painted fern. I have a gorilla fern. It's just any type of fern is welcome in my garden for my shady areas. Dusty Miller. You can grow Dusty Miller in full sun or partial shade. It has fuzzy leaves and silver. Silver plants deer tend to avoid. I don't know what it is about silver plants, but they avoid these. It claims to be hardy down to a zone 8, but I'm in a zone 7, and it's been coming back for me pretty well, so I've been using it as a perennial. It really is nice to have that pop of silver in a garden bed. Amsonia. Amsonia can grow in full sun or partial shade. It does get little blue flowers in the springtime, but I really grow this plant for the foliage. I only have room for this little small one in my garden, but I was at NYU Hospital and came across this beautiful hedge. It really shows the beauty of the fall color it gets. So this is a great one if you have the room for it. Ornamental grasses. Deer don't eat these. They have sharp, I don't know if you've ever tried to handle an ornamental grass without gloves. The leaves are serrated. They will cut you really bad. So you can grow all types of these and the deer aren't going to touch them. Even some of them that don't have those sharp leaves, like Hakanakloa, the Japanese forest grass, they don't eat this either. So go to the grass section and have fun. The great thing about ornamental grasses, they'll grow in full sun, partial shade, and they provide you with beautiful winter interest. The last section is herbs. There's 5 that deer won't touch if you put them in your garden. The first one is rosemary. Rosemary has a very strong scent. It is amazing to cook with. It really appreciates full sun. The next one is thyme, same thing. Strong fragrance, full sun. This is another one I like to plant against my sidewalk. It creeps over a little bit. You can plant it in between stepping stones. Sage is another great one. Many times people confuse lamb's ear and sage. They both have fuzzy leaves. The deer won't touch sage. It loves full sun. Mint. Mint will grow in full sun or partial shade. As I said before, anything minty, the deer, they're not gonna like. You just wanna be careful. You don't wanna just throw this in your garden because it'll take over the whole thing. You wanna keep it in a container or in a separate area where you want a huge patch of mint. Just keep it contained. The next one is oregano. Oregano likes full sun. It's another strong smeller, so they're not gonna touch it. Oregano can take over too, not as bad as mint, but it can be an aggressive spreader. So you do wanna keep that in mind. Maybe keep that in a container with your mint. So there you have it, there's 26. There are many more. I have some in my fenced in garden that are supposed to be really deer resistant, like Brunnera and Pulmonaria, but I haven't tested those yet. So I couldn't tell you that I know for sure the deer wouldn't take a bite. Let me know what your favorite deer resistant plants are. And stay tuned for a video how to keep deer out of your garden, where you want to plant things that deer love, like tulips and hydrangeas. In the meantime, check out this video and just make sure you're not making any of these mistakes if you missed it, because these mistakes might be costing you time and harms your body. Take care. Thanks for watching.